Hi guys, I want to take a few minutes to show you a tutorial regarding React and the sort of the way it works, the way you think about it. In particular, if you go to the React website, I'm going to go ahead and pull that up now. There's a docs link, and if you go under main concepts, there's a thinking in React. It's like a tutorial. It walks you through sort of the process of developing an interactive widget that people can use to explore data in a table. Okay, that's basically the idea. The thing is, this was written a few years ago. You can tell just based on the data in the table, they're looking at things for sale, and one of them is an iPhone 5, which, golly, I've got an iPhone 10, so I don't know. It's not super fresh. But the point is, this was written back at a time when React was developed primarily as an object-oriented, inheritance-based. The plan was you would subclass from a React component and then override methods of React component in order to deal with lifecycle events and user interaction events and so on. React has evolved since this thing was written, and now a lot of the new work is being done using functional components. They're components that are defined as functions, and the functions do stuff. But you'll see in a lot of React code that still exists today, many of the libraries and tools that are available are based on components. So you sort of need to know both of them at this point, because not everything is moved to functional, and you're going to end up encountering a little bit of both depending on exactly what you're doing. So you sort of need to learn both. I'd like you to look at this Thinking in React tutorial and probably work through it, understand how it goes. What I want to do is work through the tutorial, but not step by step. But what I want to do is show you how you think about a functional version of the same project. So what I did was, if you go down to the bottom of the tutorial, let's see if I refresh the page here. At the bottom of the tutorial, there's actually a working version of the application. If I type an A in the text box, it eliminates everything but those things that have A in them. If I put an I, it eliminates everything but those that have I's. Let's see if I can see, what about O? Yeah, if I pick an O, there's football, but there's also iPod and iPhone, so those things show up. And then this checkbox here, it only shows things if they're in stock. So if they're not in stock, it's showing red. If they are in stock, it's showing black. So now if you click that checkbox, it only shows things in stock. Now it shows me basketballs and iPhone 5s are available. Well, they're for sale, but they're none in stock. So anyway, you can interact with the widget by typing filter text into the text box or by clicking on the checkbox here to show only in-stock items. I want to point out that I don't have to hit enter or anything. As soon as I type anything, the list resorts itself. So modifying this filter text immediately redisplays the list. So how that works, how you think about that in React, is sort of what this is all about. So what I did was I just viewed this in my browser and got the HTML. So I put that in a directory here. I've got a file here called tir.html. If I open code, we can look at that, and you can see what the HTML looks like. It's quite simple. It's a couple of divs. A div is just a container that holds other HTML and keeps it so you can style it separately or block it off separately from some other HTML. It contains a form with two inputs. Those inputs are nothing other than the filter text field and the checkbox. So you can see this form corresponds to this part of I can't seem to check it, this part right here of the display. And then we've got a table. This table from here down to here includes the header row, which is the name and the price. It includes some categories like sporting goods and electronics. So these are category rows. And then we've got actual data, football, baseball, basketball. Notice the basketball is out of stock, and so they've added a span here, wrapped that basketball in a span with the style set so that the color of the text is red. And you can see that here, that the basketball is displayed in red. So exactly how that happens, we'll get to here in a second. But that's the display we want to generate. The question is, how do you do that with React? So let's let's do this. I'm going to pop down here, and I'm going to go ahead and run create React app, and I'm just going to call it TIR demo, thinking in React demo, and we'll let that thing do its business. That'll take a second. So I'll be back in just a minute. Okay, so that has finished its job, and now we have do an ls, and you'll see that now we have a TIR demo. I'm going to go ahead and close out code and reopen it in this directory so that we've opened that particular place. So here we are in our TIR demo. I'm going to go down into source and we'll poke around a little bit. App.js is just the default React application. It displays a header with some text that says edit the app.js file and reload. It also displays the React logo. It's got some CSS here. The CSS is basically cascading style sheets, which are used to change the appearance of various things. Notice it's aligning text in the center. It's setting the height to certain values. It's determining what media are going to be displayed. It's giving background color, various attributes of style. This is all about whether it's justified, what the font size is, what the color is, and so on. What the color of the link is, and so on. Okay, so CSS is cascading style sheets. It's all about the appearance of various bits and pieces of the display. App.js it's kind of funny. Look, this is JavaScript, but embedded in it, it looks like HTML. So this is called JSX. It's pretty much unique to React, and basically it's a way of embedding layout and design issues in the code, but it ends up getting mixed in a very interesting way. So I know there's a lot of controversy, or there has historically been some controversy about the notion of mixing HTML and code in the same file, but I think React has shown that it can be done in a way that's clean and in a way that's systematic, and so that's the way React works, basically. Okay, so let's see what this actually looks like in practice. I'm going to go ahead and follow the instructions here and say yarn start. That's going to launch a sort of a baby development web server right on my computer, and then it's going to tell Chrome to open that, go to a URL that points to that server, and we'll go ahead and see what that looks like. Okay, so it's saying you can view the TIR demo at localhost 3000. You'll notice that the web browser is pointed to localhost 3000, so it's going to this server. And this server is basically, just a very, very simple web server, but it watches the files that go into the bundle that we create with our app, and anytime those files change, it rebuilds the bundle and reloads the web browser. It tells the web browser to refresh. So that's super cool, because it means that if I go in here and edit something, so let's say I change from edit source.app.js and change it to something like edit the file and save to reload. Once I save it, it's supposed to reload. Why isn't it reloading? Well, isn't that special? Okay, I'm going to just refresh. Okay, I must be doing something wrong. Because I definitely saved it. And I refreshed. Let's try this. I'm going to restart. That's really weird. Desktop. Well, I wish I could say there. Now it refreshed. But let's see if I say edit lowercase the. Now it's somehow the sync got messed up. To reload the file. Okay, so now it's synced and it's working. You can see my. Okay, so everything's happy now. What I want to do is simplify this. So let's go ahead. I don't need the logo. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to get rid of the image here. I'm going to get rid of this link. I'll leave the header, but I'm going to change this to thinking in React. Functional example. We'll go ahead and change it to that. And then we're going to add more stuff to display this, this example data and everything. So I'm going to pop back over to thinking in React right here. Let's go ahead and grab this data. I'm just going to grab this. And we're going to put that into a mock data file. So let's just create a new file. I'm going to call it mock test data. And I'm just going to paste that in there. Let's call this products. Actually, since it's mock data, just to make sure everybody knows it's mock data, I'm going to say const products equals all that junk. And let's export that. Export products. Okay. And that way, if other people need some mock data, they can get it from here. And of course, we will need it. What I want to do is, before we get into the details of the application, I want to make some utilities that handle the business of only displaying if stocked is true, and also the business of filtering based on a text filter. And in the spirit of test-driven development, I want to go ahead and write those filters, write the test that tests that the filters work first, and then write the filters to see if they work. So that's the idea. Let's go ahead and then write the tests. So I'm going to say new file, and we're going to say filter utils test.js. Okay, and of course I'm going to say import filter by text and filter by stocked. From, and then we're going to do filter utils.js. So I'm planning on writing a program or some functions in a file called filter utils. I haven't written it yet, but I'm going to test first. I'm going to write the tests that describe how these guys work, and then I can write the functions that do the work of fulfilling that implementation. But first we got to figure out what we expect it to do. So let's test the filter by text first. What was that? Test. Okay, sometimes I hate Visual Studio Code. I type test. Oh, it thinks it's smarter than me, so it's going to give me an option, but I don't want that option. Okay. Test does filter with text. Okay, so let's go ahead and I need some mock data. So I'm going to say import products from, and that's called mock test data. Good. Okay, and then tell you what, let's look at, split down, and let's open the mock data so we know what we're looking at. We've got category, price, stocked, and name. The idea is I'm going to filter with some text. So let's say const filter text. Let's say the filter text is going to be ball. Okay? And the idea is I want to only get elements from the list where the name includes the substring ball. So how do I want to do that? I want to pass in the list, and I want to get back the list that only contains the things that match the filter test. So I'm going to say let filtered list equal filter by text. I'm going to pass in the products, and I'm going to pass in the filter text. And we're going to check to see that the list that I get back is has the correct properties. Well, let's see. Maybe I better write my own loop to check to see how many elements of the list should have that. So if I say products dot filter and I pass in a function object and object dot name dot index of filter text. So if you find the filter text in the name not equal to -1. So what that should do is it should return, so I'll say let or constant my list equals. So I'm going to do I wrote my own little filter here that filters these guys. And it should, this line here is going to return true if it finds the filter text and false if it doesn't find the filter text. And since I'm using the filter method of the products list, that means it's going to return the list of objects for which this predicate returns true. So I should get a list only of ones that match that filter text. Perfect. So I'm going to say expect my list dot length to be the same as filtered list dot length. Okay, so I'm just checking. I did my own little filter. Filter by text does its own little filter, and they should have the same length. This might seem kind of silly. I mean, it's not that complicated. I could just put that filter, hard code it right into the web page or into the React, but I want to get across a couple of notions. One is sometimes it's not this simple. You have a more complicated filter that wants to filter on a larger set of issues. And it's nice to push that complexity into a separate function that you can test independently from the rest of the application. It's also good to write the tests first to make sure you know what you're checking, and then go ahead and write the functionality. Okay, let's go ahead and do one. Does filter with stocked. And oh, one other thing I should do, we should check and make sure if I pass in an empty string, I should get the whole list. Empty string returns entire list, because that's important, or a null returns the entire list. If the filter text is either null or undefined or something like that, or the empty string, it should give me the entire list, because that's what it is mostly. When you first start out, the filter text is an empty string. So I want to say let filtered text, filtered list equals filter by text products empty string, expect filtered list dot length to be products dot length. Right, that way I should get the entire, the list should be as long as the original list. Okay, right. What about filter with stocked? So let's do that. I'm gonna let filtered list equal filter by stocked products, comma true. So what that means is when I pass in true here, it's going to give me only the products where stocked is set to true. And then what I could do is say const my list products dot filter, and I want to pass in object. Let's see, filter object. I'm having trouble typing. Such that o dot stocked. Okay, that should do it. I just realized I got too many parentheses here. I think. Don't need that parenthesis. Okay. Okay, so that should return all the products that have stocked set to true. That's pretty easy. And then we're going to expect filtered list dot length to be my list dot length. Right? That means I should, if the lengths come out the same, that's good. That means that it probably worked. And let's see, test does not filter with stocked set to false. Okay, and then I'm going to let filtered list equal filter by stocked products false. And then I'm just going to expect that filtered list dot length to be products dot length. Right? It should not take any out. Okay, perfect. So I've got my tests. Now let's actually write the functions to do this. So I'm going to say new file. I'm going to call this thing filter utils.js, right? And we have two functions. We have function. Let's actually look at the tests. One function is filter by text. It's going to pass in the list and the text. And then what I want to do is we want to, let's see, result. Let's just do it the old-fashioned way, just to make it really clear what's going on. We're going to say let result const result equals the empty array. I'm going to say for let I of the list, actually it's let O of the list. I'm going to go through the objects of the list. Of, remember, goes through the values. In goes through the keys. But for an array, unless you need the indices, you know you're just going to go through the elements one at a time. If you need the indices, you can do a regular for loop. But if you want to just go through the objects in the list, you can do of, and the O would be the object. So, and what I want to do is say if O dot index of the text equals not equals -1. That means we found it. Okay, we found whatever the text was, we found it in there. So we're going to push that guy onto the result. Result dot push. Oh. Okay, perfect. So, and then I'm just going to return the result. Okay. Let's go ahead and run the test and see if that, actually, we should have run the test anyway, but let's, actually, you know what, this is a brand new, I just updated my computer and started from scratch, so I haven't added the Jest plugin. So I'm going to install that. Okay. Let's turn this off. And what is it complaining about? It says, reference filter text is not defined. Filter by text. Oh. I just mistyped it. Okay, what's complaining about now? Filter utils, filter by text is not a function. Filter utils, filter by text. It sure is a, oh, I haven't exported it yet. Okay, export filter by text. What's that? And then okay. Next up is not a function. Oh, O.name. See, this is how this game is played. Oh, it passed. Beautiful. Okay. An empty string passed as well. Okay, beautiful. So that works. Then I just need to do the other one. So let's do function filter by, what's it called? Stocked. It gets past the list. It gets past do filter. So if do filter is true, it's either going to be true or false. Do the filter or don't do the filter. If the filter is true, then it means, so let's see, what do we want to do? If the do filter is false, so if not do filter, then we're just going to return the list because I don't want to filter anything else. I want to return what I get. So I'm just going to cheat. I'm going to say return the list dot filter o dot stocked. Okay. So that basically is going to, for all the items in the list that have stock set to true, it's going to return, it's going to include those in the filtered list. Otherwise, it's going to exclude them. Oh, and I have to export that. So filter by stocked. Okay. And let's see. and those now pass. Okay, beautiful. So what's the point? The point is you can take some functionality, break it out, put it into a small file with some utilities that do these things, and then you don't have to, you can adhere to the single responsibility principle, make little functions, each that do one little simple thing, and then delegate the things that are too complicated to other simple functions that just do their thing. Does that make sense? Okay, back in a minute. Okay, so I noticed one other thing as I was looking over this. Visual Studio Code has colored this all red, and it's claiming, wait, there's a test that's failing here. And I realized I modified the web page, and this test is going out and looking at the text that it finds inside the app tag, and it's not finding the text it's looking for. So I changed the text to be thinking in React functional example. So I'm going to change the search to search for thinking in React. It's doing a case-insensitive search, so hopefully when that test runs again, it will now pass. Let's see if that goes. There, now that one passes too. So now we've got all green. Okay, let's get back to building the application we want to build. So here's the thing. If I pull up the HTML again, let's see, where did that end up? I don't see it in here. I guess it's, let's go ahead and do it this way. It's going to be let's just open it in a browser. And let's look at the HTML. So let's take one thing at a time. Let's take this table. So what I want to do is just grab this table, and let's just turn that into a React function. So the dumbest way to do that, of course, is to just say function. And I want to use the nomenclature from the Thinking in React tutorial. So that's called a product table. So just for fun, let's call it a product table. And it's going to get, what is it going to get? It's going to get the products. And let's do it this way. Well, we'll just say props. It's actually going to get a props dictionary. And products will be an attribute of that dictionary, a key for that dictionary. So I'm going to say return, and then I'm just going to paste in that HTML. Where did it go? For the table. I lost it somehow. Let's try it again. So this is just raw HTML. I haven't. There's no actual React code here. Let me indent this a little bit to make the indentation decent. And then how do I invoke this? Well, the product table, I don't want to put this in after the header, so I guess I just put it here. Now let's see, something has turned white here. The style prop expects a mapping. Okay. So actually, let's just I'm going to get rid of these rows. They're not really relevant anyway, right? It's just an example. Okay. And I have a problem. I have a feeling. Let's see, thinking in React, functional example, product table. Let's see if that looks right. I want to move this to the bottom. See, this is not rehearsed, so you are really getting the real deal. Let's see, if I go to elements and I go under, there's table, there's the name and the price, but why don't I see it? Why don't I see it in my page here? Header, table. It must be something about the styling, I think, that's causing that trouble, because it's clearly in the HTML. The row is there, sporting goods. I've got a football. I should be seeing football here. So let's do this. I'm going to wrap this in a div, and I'm going to put this in quotes. There it is. It's down here. Okay. So I'll make this color black. Okay, there's the sporting goods. Okay. So at least we're starting to see the thing blink its eyes a little bit. So something about the style of app CSS. Let's see. This is the header. Color is white. Background color is black. Let's I'm just going to get rid of some of this stuff. Okay. You can see it's all about styling. So really, that's fine. I don't want to spend a lot of time worrying about the way the thing looks, because that's not really what this is about. But clearly, I've got my list here now. And I could go ahead and text align center my list as well. Let's see, app.js. Let's put this, put app.css here, and let's say we'll give this class name equals product table. And then I'll do a similar thing that we've got here. In addition to app, we'll say product, class product table is going to get that same text align center. And of course that doesn't center it because it's in a table. So, forget it. We'll just keep it simple. I've got my I've got my list. Styles drive me crazy because it's always something, I don't know, it's always something. So the point is, I want to change this to display. I've got the name and the price there, okay, but I want to display a bunch of rows here, let's, and what am I getting? We're passing into, oh, we're not passing anything into product table. Props. So let's pretend like there's an API somewhere that goes and gets this data, and it gets injected periodically whenever the app gets mounted. So I'm going to pass in products equals, and then let's put in the products that we've imported from the mock data. So then when I'm down here in products, the props is actually going to be, it's going to have a key called products. So I'm going to say const products equals props dot products. So that's going to get the list of products that I passed in here. Okay. So notice I'm using HTML in a way, but product table is a React function, and it's getting an argument, props, and props is going to be a dictionary of all the things I pass in. So I'm passing in products as a key, and the value that I'm passing in is what I import. Oh, I haven't imported it yet, so I better import it. I'm going to import products from, and it's going to be from mock test data. So that's where products are going to come from. I'm going to pass those in here, and then that's going to get passed into the product table. What I want to do is to make a bunch of rows. So let's say if I say const rows equals the empty list, and then for const O of products. So I'm going to go through the list of products one at a time. And for now, let's just say rows.push, and we'll push in a row. Well, what is a row going to be? It's going to be, notice, a table is an HTML tag. Head is an HTML tag that shows a header row. TR is a row. TH is a header. Down here, you've got TD is data. So this is the header. This is a header row saying sporting goods, but then TD is the data. So what I want to do is just push in the data for right now. So I'm going to say TR, and then we're going to say TD, and I'm going to say O dot. Let's put in O dot name as the first TD, and the second TD we'll put in O dot price. And then down here, instead of just a static row, let's put in the rows. So I'll just say rows. And look at that. Now I've got, let's actually let this be over here. Now I've got the products there one at a time. But the problem is I don't have the categories. So let's say const category equals null. We'll start it out at null. Actually, let's make it a let because it's going to be, I can close this too. I don't need all that nonsense. Okay. We're going to keep track of the category that we have. And I'm going to say if o.category is not equal to category, then let's push a header row on there. So we'll say rows.push. It'll be a TR still, but it's going to be a, not data, but header. So it's going to be TH, and I better say call span equals 2. So I'm going to span both columns. It's going to go across both columns. And we're going to put in o.category. but it's going to be, because it's a variable, I got to put it in braces here. That's the way it works. Okay, and then I also want to update category. Category equals O.category. Okay, and you'll notice that now I've got categories here, sporting goods and electronics. Because I'm going through and checking, I've got a variable that keeps track of the current category. I'm assuming that all the sporting goods are together, all the electronics are together. So if I get a product with a different category, I'm going to pop in a header row that shows that category. Okay. The other thing I want to do is, if the thing's not in stock, I want to put the name in red. So what I'll do there, this is sort of what they do in the tutorial as well. I'm going to just check if O.stocked then actually let's do this. I'm going to say const name equals O.stocked question mark. This is the same thing in C. You have a syntax for a variable that can be one thing or the other based on a Boolean. Stocked is a Boolean. It's either true or false. If it's true, I just want it to be O.name. If it's false, I want it to be a span with a style that's equal to color red O.name. And then what that's going to do down here, instead of putting O.name, I'll put name. And oh, that didn't work. Oh, this should be the variable O.name, not the literal O.name. So what that's going to do is it shows basketball in red if the thing is out of stock. Okay, beautiful. So that's great. Now we've got this product table that's able to display the full list without any problem. So fantastic. What about the controls and stuff that need to go at the top? So let's go back and look at the tutorial. So the tutorial says the control should be in like one box. That thing is called a search bar. So they're going to make a search bar function or a search bar object that holds these controls. And then the product table, which is what we just did in green, is just there to display the list. And then the whole thing is contained in a larger object called a filterable product table, which is this whole thing. Okay, so let's see. Let's think about how we're going to do that. We need a search bar. It's going to get props. And it's going to return, let's go back and look at the HTML. Oh, I lost it. What did I do? Let's go back and look at the HTML again. Yeah, it's this form with the text input and then a checkbox input. So actually what I should do is copy TIR down into my Create React app, and then I can look at it with code. Now I just moved it down here so you can see it. Okay, that's a lot easier. So let's grab that whole form and let's just pop that into the search bar. Now another thing you can do in a real project, you can put all these functions in their own file, their own separate file, to keep them sorted out from everything else. So I just want to return that form. And it might be nice to space it so that So I've got two inputs. So search bar is just going to return this form, and then I need product table. I need this filterable product table. So let's make a function that does that. And what it's going to do is to return the search bar and the product table. Okay, what's it complaining about here? Search bar. Oh, doesn't like the fact that I've tried to return two things. I need to embed these in a single element. So there's a couple different ways to do that. One of them is to just have an empty enclosing tag that's just an empty tag, or I could make this a div. If you want a div, that's fine. That'll work great with HTML. But sometimes you don't want an extra div in there because it interferes with the layout. So you can just use the empty tag as well. But that should take care of it. Let's see. If I go down here to filter, I change this to filterable product table now. How's that going? But then I gets rid of my, I don't have any products. Oh, I see. I've got to pass those in, right? So I've got to do product table products equals props dot products. I've got to pass those in. There. Now I'm back. Hey, look. Now I've got my search bar and my checkbox. So that's lovely. But it doesn't do anything. I can type. Actually, I can type. I can click, but it doesn't actually respond. So we got to figure out how to do that. But things are looking a little bit better. Let's see. How do I handle that? Well, first of all, the search bar is the one that has the controls. So I better make some methods here. How about handle filter text change? That's going to be a function that gets an event. The event is an event object in JavaScript, which has a target attribute. The target is the thing that caused the event. So in the case of a text field, it'll be the text field. In the case of the checkbox, it'll be the checkbox. So if you go and look HTML input text attributes, and you just Google that. This is the way I do it all the time. It tells you about input, what attributes it has. You can read about the attributes, but they're all going to be enumerated here. Let's see if I can find the details. Height, width, pattern, multiple, min, max, size, value. Value. That's what we're after. It has an attribute called value, which says that's what's in the text field. So when the text field changes, I'm going to get an event that has a target attribute. So cur value is e.target.value. Okay. So if I say let cur value, and now if I console log that, we can look at that on the log. But wait a minute, handler filter text change, how am I going to get that function called? Oh, easy. We're going to add an onChange handler, and it's going to get handle filter text change as its argument. So what that means is when when anything changes in this text box, it's going to call handle filter text change. But it says, wait, handle filter text change, oh, because I've got to say const. Okay, But the problem is value is always the empty string. So I need to figure out a way to give it a value. Oh, I should pass that in as a prop. So if I say props dot filter text, and then that should set that as the value. Beautiful. Let's now, if I type here, I can type, but is that doing anything? Let's inspect. Let's look at the console and notice I'm getting some errors here. Okay, this one I understand we need to pick a key, which I'll do that here in a minute. This one, whitespace text nodes cannot appear as a child of TR, so we'll have to check what we're putting in as children of TR and see why we're getting whitespace. I don't think we should have any whitespace. So there must be an extra space in the code somewhere. But here's what I want you to notice. This is the console log logging out those change events. Every time it does it, it's printing out what's in the text field, and that is, in fact, what's there. So if I delete, type in XYZ, it's showing up in the console. So that's actually working. Fantastic. So let's also do const handle stocked checkbox change. That's also going to get an event, and I'm just going to say let cur checked equals e dot target dot. Oh yeah. Let's look up check pattern. So what I want to do is say HTML input check box attributes. It takes a while to learn all these. The good news is there aren't that many. But checked is an attribute of the checkbox that says whether it's checked or not. It's a Boolean. If it's checked, it's true. If it's not checked, it's false. So what I can do is just say checked here. Okay. So that will, and then if I can just console.log checkbox is, and then just say plus check, cur checked. And then it should console log out the checked state of the checkbox. So if I click this, oh, it doesn't do it yet because I haven't assigned the change handler. So let's see, on change equals, and then it's going to be handle stock checkbox change. Okay, doesn't like something. Oh, forgot the close brace. Okay. Checkbox is true, checkbox is false, checkbox is true, checkbox is false. Good. So that takes care of that. So now these two event handlers are correctly handling the filter text change and the stocked checkbox change, but they're not doing anything with it. And furthermore, our list, when we're rendering this list, we're not filtering either by the filter text or by the whether it's stocked or not. So we're going to have to go out and use those utilities that we cooked up earlier to handle that part. But I hope you can see we're sort of getting close. One thing I want to fix this error with the unique key prop. It turns out when you make a list of things like these rows, React likes to keep track of which elements are changing so it can be efficient about how it updates things. So we need to add a key tag to each row. If you go and look at the thinking in React, if you look up key here, you'll notice that when it's a category, they're setting the key to category. When it's a row, they're setting the key to the name. And if you look at product row, they're not actually using the key anywhere here. So it's only in that sort of outer level that they're setting the key. So what I want to do is go in the place where we make the product category and the product row. Let's see, product table. Oh, you know what? We never made a product row or a product category. So I think we can just do it here. Key equals O dot category. Key equals O dot name. See if it likes that better. Yep, it's happy now. So I realized in the tutorial they had a function for product. They had a function that returns this thing and a function that returns that thing. I should probably update this with that same approach, but I'm not going to do it right now. Why are we getting white space here? It says app.js line 47. Where is that? Right here. Ah, there it is. Boom. Okay, we've got some white space here. Does not like that white space. Okay, does that clean that up? Boom. Okay, beautiful. So it's all happy. Now let's just fix this filtering business and we'll be ready to rock and roll. So what I need to do right now, I'm going through products. What I want to do is to filter those based on the current state of the filter text and the current state of the stocked checkbox. But where am I going to keep track of those? They're sort of defined down here in the search bar. But here I'm in the product table. So what we want to do, and you should read the tutorial on thinking in React, you want to lift the state, lift the information that you need to render everything to the highest possible level. And if you go back and look at the original picture, sort of geometrically, this guy has information about what the user is currently filtering on. This is displaying the stuff. The highest level that has both of those is this yellow level, and that's the filter product table, filterable product table. So we want to keep that information in the at the filterable product table level. So we'll go to the filterable product table, and I'm going to add the variables that keep track of what's currently been set there. So here's what I want to do. I need to add another import from React. It's called useState, and it's used to establish how you're keeping track of information needed to run the application. What's this complaining about? Import React. Oh, I want a comma. Okay. And so what I want to do is to keep that information. So let's const filter text. Filter text is the text that's going to keep track of what the user wants to filter on. But it's going to vary. So, and we're going to want to change it when the user modifies the search text. But we're going to initialize it to the empty string. So the way this works is useState returns two things. It returns the initial value of, or the current value of the state variable, in this case the filter text, and it returns a function that you call when you want to modify that value. Every time you modify the value, React is smart enough to know it has to rerun these functions in order to get everything set up again. And the other one is the display stocked. In stock only is a Boolean. Set in stock only is the function you call when you want to set that Boolean, and we're going to start it out as false. So you pass into useState the initial value of the state variable. You get back the current value and a function to call when you want to set that value. So what that means is the search bar, we're going to pass in the filter text. The current value of the filter text we'll pass in as a prop. Then we'll also pass in the current value of in stock only. That's a state variable that we're going to pass in to the search bar. The other thing we're going to pass in is the function to call when you want to modify the filter text. And the function you want to call when you want to set the in stock only attribute. So we're passing 4 properties into search bar. Okay. Product table, we're just going to pass in the products, but we also need to pass in the filter text. No, that's not it. And we need to pass in the in stock only. Actually, yeah, okay. So there you go. And how is that going to work? Well, let's go to the search bar first. We're already using props filter text, but what we're not doing here is setting the checked attribute. Let's do that. Checked equals props dot in stock only. So we're going to set the checked attribute of the checkbox based on the current property that gets passed into the search bar. We're already setting the value based on that current property. When these change, we're going to call handle filter text change, and now we've got a function to call props set filter text with cur value. So we're getting passed in the set filter text function, and we're going to call that with the new value of what's in the filter text. Same way here, instead of just console logging this thing, we can say props dot set in stock only with cur checked. So this is how the controls in the search bar communicate back to the filterable product table their new values. This filterable product table gets called again, and they get updated, and then those new values get passed down into the product table. So looking at the product table, now we can see what we have to do. We're getting passed in now the current state of filter text, so we can just say, let's no longer make this constant. We'll let products be now a variable, and we'll say products equals filter by text products, and then we'll put in the props dot filter text. Okay, so we're passing in the filter text from the user and the list of products. Then we can do it again, filter. But now we're going to filter by stocked products, and then we're going to say props dot in stock only. Boom. So these two utility filters and the props that we get passed in by the filterable product table are going to modify the things that show. And so now, if things are looking good, I can say E, and I get things with an E. I can say O, I get things with an O. I say L, I get things with an L. If I want to only show stuff that's in stock, I click the box, and it comes on and off. So that is the way it works. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask.